beginning to see around the IPO road mapping of mid to late stage companies in the MENA Pakistan region. What's interesting is that if you look at the Turkish IPO market, it's been very, very buoyant this year. A lot of liquidity going into initial public offerings, and a lot of momentum in the Saudi market, especially around IPO, particularly listing both of traditional and tech businesses. And you're starting to see quite a lot of momentum, if you're here, around the interest and attractiveness of listing in Saudi Arabia. Now, obviously, the interesting part of the conversation is also around the track record of IPO listings of Middle Eastern companies in Europe and in North America, which has been somewhat checkered. And we'll get into that in detail as well. The other thing to note is, as I said, the momentum that's taking place in the MENA region and in the GCC is proven out by things like Tabby, the buy now, pay later player in the GCC region, which has announced 2 or 3 weeks ago its relocation to Riyadh from Dubai, and the closing of a recent round, if I recollect, of around $200 million. So quite a lot of momentum taking place. 2 listing opportunities in Saudi, which is the main market, and Nomu, which is the, I guess, equivalent of the smaller AIM type market equivalent in the UK, which has also seen some tech listings taking place. Around 5 IPOs so far in Riyadh this year, something of a pipeline for more. And depending upon who you talk to, there's a pipeline of probably about 20 or 25 companies looking to list in Saudi Arabia. As I said, both traditional groups, divestments, tech companies from the region looking to list, et cetera, et cetera. A few candidates, and we'll go into some of those names as well. Now, the one thing Martin and I have done as well is to have actually the beginning of an initial conversation with PSX in Pakistan, not necessarily the subject of today's conversation, but we're very keen to ensure that what initiatives take place in the IPO sector from a readiness and preparedness perspective, we can map those opportunities to capture knowledge and apply those to the Pakistan market as well, because that's when a platform like ParkLaunch becomes valuable, where we can take our learning and experience and apply it to Pakistan and vice versa. So I guess most people will have seen me before. I've done a bunch of stuff with ParkLaunch and enjoyed it thoroughly, Corridor series, etc. My name's Ovais N. I'm a partner at Rise Capital, and have begun, I guess a couple of years ago, launching an advisory business called Clear Mountain, particular focus on commercial due diligence capabilities for funds, looking at tech opportunities in the MENA region and in Turkey, and also looking specifically at value creation planning capabilities, growth planning capabilities for technology companies in the region. So there's a natural expansion of, commercial due diligence and value creation planning type activity, and expanding that into IPO readiness, which is our interest in the space. So I'll hand over to Martin. Martin will give you a quick intro to his background. He's had a fantastic career in public markets in the UK and Europe, and more widely geographically as an advisor, as a stock exchange board member in many geos. So we'll do a quick intro to Martin, and then what we'll do is pick up a series of questions, keep the questions coming in, and Ali will direct those on the chat. But I'll hand over to Martin, and then we'll go from there. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, guys. Good evening, good afternoon. So my background was I started life as an asset manager, then I had quite a few senior roles in investment banking. I used to run global equities for Dresdner Kleinwort Benson when it dominated the European equity market. So I had a lot of involvement in IPOs as a banker, advisor, distributor, talking to the most important investors on earth. In 2002, I was headhunted to a new role at the recently demutualized London Stock Exchange. So my job was director of markets and head of AIM, which was the junior market. So I had direct responsibility for 80% of all the group's profits. And also one of the most important parts was me spreading the word internationally. So under my leadership, the LSE had 20% of all global IPOs for a long time, and AIM became a global market, raised more money than NASDAQ. So I spent a lot of time talking to companies about listing, particularly in London. And the reason they were listing was they were showing they followed the highest standards of corporate governance and they could link into global investors. I was also in charge of all stakeholder relationships, which included all the investors, all the companies, but also things like global exchanges and regulators around the world. So my exposure to IPOs has been as an investor, as a board member in a company, as an advisor, as a stock exchange, and also as a regulator. So I think I've got a genuine 360-degree perspective on the whole process, which I don't think many people actually can share.